and welcome to the Amplifying Scientific Innovation video podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Sophia Ononye-Onyia, founder and CEO of the Sophia Consulting Firm, an innovation leadership organization that advances digital storytelling and workforce development by translating complex ideas into strategy, visibility, and measurable impact. What began nearly 6 years ago in New York City has evolved into a California-based platform that spans a podcast, multiple publications, and a student-led apprenticeship focused on digital storytelling and workforce development. Today, I am joined by Marissa Fayer, whom I met following an introduction from Linda Secker, Executive Director of Life Sciences at JP Morgan Commercial Banking, at the inaugural HERE Summit in my former home, San Diego. Marissa brings more than 25 years of experience across medtech and healthcare technology, spanning engineering, operations, product development, and commercialization and quality. She's the CEO of DeepLook Medical, an FDA-cleared AI radiology company focused on breast imaging for women with dense breast tissue, and the founder and CEO of HERhealthEQ, a global nonprofit that has improved health outcomes for more than 100,000 women across 12 countries. Marissa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So let's jump right in. My favorite question is always the first one, and it's a question I've asked all my guests in the past 6 years. So it is, what is your definition of scientific innovation?
It's anything that moves us forward. So I don't like to say it's only in the lab or it's only a new product. It could be a new way of doing something. It could be a new way of re-engineering. It could be all these different things. That's scientific advancement. So using sometimes old problems and older innovations in a new and different way. It also is very much, based in the lab and based on new product and all these things. But it is literally anything that moves science forward. It could be anything.
Great. And that's the beauty of it, because I think people think innovations are this massive things, but there are many little things that makes our lives easier every single day. And that is really what innovation is. And as I alluded in the introduction, your career spans engineering, operations, product development, commercialization, and quality. So what inspired your interest in women's health in particular?
I fell into it. It was non-intentional, definitely not as smart as all of the students now and everybody who's intentionally getting into the industry, which I'm so grateful they are. I joined a company that was the largest women's health company in the world. And I was always very, I'm a women engineer, so I was very into STEM and making sure that, women and girls had access to STEM education. But I didn't know really what that meant. And women's health, I literally fell into it. And then at that point, everything merged together. And I was like, haha, this is it. And, here we are. I also just knew as a woman that having to go through all of, all the things that we as women have to go through, I was like, this is not fair. And as an engineer, I solve problems. And so I just kept on solving problems and will continue to solve problems. That's just who I am. So, I unintentionally and thankfully got into women's health.
Right. I think it makes sense from, just your life story. It's something of personal interest to you, but there's also that professional impact that you can have. And one thing that we've talked about offline is about AI, obviously, and AI is accelerating the speed of innovation, we no doubt. So tell us more about your vision for DeepLook Medical.
Yeah, we're a software technology company focused on the radiology and oncology space. And really the vision is that we help radiologists and oncologists get to a diagnosis of a yes or no, faster and easier, without as much strain, without as many recalls, without as many times women having to come back. And then also on the oncology side, making sure that the oncologist and the radiologist can actually talk to patients, because you can't assume that patients are going to be able to read a radiology scan. I mean, I can barely read it, and I've been doing this for 20 years. You need to give patients information. So when there's something that's highlighted or with color, and you can show them, here, it's grown from this to this. This is why we need to look at it. Or actually, it hasn't grown. Actually, it's shrunk. Great news. So, I think to us, we use AI to better inform the physicians to make better decisions. We're not making decisions for them. They need more information to make information and make decisions faster, more
Right.
reliable, and
Right.
also make it more comfortable for them, and that when they need to talk to the patients, they have their information available for them.
Right. I did my postdoctoral training at the Yale Cancer Center. I focused on triple negative breast cancer. And
Yeah.
historically, I come from a family of women with breast tissue. And the
Yeah,
second you put those words together, people are like, what does that mean?
I
But it's
know.
just, what do my results mean? There's definitely a communication gap. And I think the more we sort of try to bridge that gap, that's when we're going to start to see real innovation, don't you think?
Yeah, and I also think, listen, like women with dense breasts, it's documented that 45 to 50% of all women have dense breasts. It's
Yeah.
actually closer to 70 to 80%, let's be clear, because it disproportionately affects Black women,
Yeah.
Asian women, and Hispanic women, which more or less is 70% of this world. And so
Right.
we have to just, make sure that there's better information, better ways of visualization. Mammograms, standard of care, and everyone should
Right.
get them. And it's 30 seconds of pain for an entire year of clarity
Exactly.
and understanding. And I know nobody wants to be in pain, and I'm sorry I developed it, but like there are other ways. But if you want insurance to cover it, that is the first thing that you need to do to start going through this process. And it's I hate it, but it's not that bad,
I
and
know.
I'm not going to diminish anybody's pain, but we as women, we can do anything for 30 seconds to 1 minute. Like
Yes,
you
we
can
can.
do it. We can do it.
Yeah.
And it's something that can save your life. So, women with dense breasts, it's very hard to see through. And
Yeah.
so this is why AI and tools are required to help the radiologists see better. It's not a fault of their own. They're just humans. They can only see what the human eye is engineered to be able to see.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. And to be fair, I mean, I was born in Nigeria and, mammograms are a luxury in most of the
Yeah.
developing world, right? So, and one of the things I've enjoyed offline is your commitment to advancing women's health in Africa. You've been to Ghana, you've been to Nigeria, and God knows where else since the last time we spoke. So
Yeah.
can you provide a top line update on ongoing work that you're doing at HERhealthEQ?
Yeah, so we're providing medical equipment to lower middle income countries, emerging markets, specifically for women's health. And it's really for non-communicable diseases, NCDs as they're called. And so that's for us, that means breast cancer, cervical cancer, maternal health, and heart disease. We're in 12 different countries. We've impacted over 135,000 women's lives directly with better health, and we're continuing to grow. So, we have a maternal health project in Nigeria that we're expanding. We have a cervical cancer screening program in Ghana. We have a maternal health screening program in Mexico. We're starting a heart disease screening program in Colombia. Obviously we're other different places and continuing to grow. We're about to launch during the summer in Sierra Leone, another maternal health screening program. Because listen, it's a lot of these emerging markets that simply
Yeah.
don't have the medical equipment
No.
to diagnose, to prevent, or to treat any of these very common, diseases. And the doctors are there, the nurses are there, the midwives are there. They just simply need equipment. And what we want to do is we want to put ourselves out of a job. We want to walk away, so much so that the governments or the private industries start to supply this equipment. And oftentimes, we're sometimes some of the first equipment that goes into a country like this,
Yeah.
almost prove it to them to say, actually, this does work. We've improved the maternal
Right.
mortality rates. We've improved the cervical cancer screening rates. We've, done these things. And so that's what we're doing. We're continuing to expand. We love partners. We love donors. We love everybody. If there's a country of need or of want, and also of priority to that human, well, great. We'd love to talk about it.
Right.
So yeah, so that's what we do, just continuing to grow. And I mean, I'm hopefully in 10 years that we put ourselves out of business. So let's hope.
No, no, I think that's the definition of measurable impact, right? So we talked about innovation earlier, and I think what you're doing is tangible work that is measurable, and it makes a big difference because we also know our health is our wealth and prevention is better than cure. Now, I've been chatting with you and I've also looked on your LinkedIn page, and I am very excited about the upcoming launch of your new book, Undervalued to Unavoidable: Women's Health and Infrastructure. As an author and creator of the Amplifying Scientific Innovation platform, I'm obviously a strong advocate for the pursuit of curiosity and creativity. So tell me, what are some key insights from your book? And most importantly, how do you want it to be remembered?
Yeah, so Undervalued to Unavoidable is a book that I didn't intend to write. But it was the book that I was looking for.
Ah,
And so the global economy loses, about nearly 1 trillion annually, because women's health, it's treated more as a moral issue, to fund, after other urgent, priorities such as roads and bridges. And women's health is seen as like a niche market with limited upside, and it needs to be a cause to support rather than investment to invest in infrastructure. So a lot of people, what they think of is when they think of infrastructure, they think of roads and bridges. They don't think it's women's health. But
right.
this is where like a lot of the framing errors really hurt us in
Yes.
women's health and in healthcare in general.
Yeah.
And we know that when we don't frame certain things appropriately,
Yeah.
that changes capital allocation, product pipelines, workforce policy, and performance. And so there's been a lot of books in the women's health industry that tell everybody and diagnose what the problem is, but they don't do something and don't tell you how to do something about it. Again, as I'm an engineer, I like to solve problems. So
Right.
I'm making an investment case. I'm giving, operators and executives and investors and board members the playbook to act on it. And I'm not, I do a very quick brief on documenting the gaps because I can't assume people know it, but the return on investment's very clear. And I really just want people at every level of organization and policy and government all around the world. And so that's the other thing. There's a lot of US focused. I'm
Yeah.
very focused on rest of world. So
Yeah.
really I want to give solutions to
Yeah.
anybody, men
Yeah.
and women, to really shape and change your organization and your work to have it focus that women's health is the infrastructure that you need to build in order to grow better societies and communities.
I mean, I don't know anybody else that could have stated a business case for investing in women's health better than you have. And I think that I couldn't agree with you more. And the numbers speak for themselves, right? Women receive only 4% of venture capital funding. Roughly 4% of R&D targets are focused on women-only conditions. And then what is it? 5 to 6% of private healthcare investments are going to women's health. I mean, that is crazy. And we still make up roughly 51% of the population. So what does the future of fundraising in women's health look like? Do we know?
I mean, it only has upwards to go. I mean, it can't go much further down. So, I mean, I think it's looking positive. I also think that there's a very large reframing that's recently happening, obviously, including in my book as well. But there's been a new exit reports that's recategorized a lot of exits for the last 25 years in the industry, when oftentimes they were categorized as oncology, but really it was women's health. Or they were pharmaceuticals or medical devices. They were women's health exits. And so once those types of things, business cases have been recategorized and spoken about, there's nowhere else to go but up.
Right, right.
And I'm really seeing that people are wanting to invest in this space. They're wanting to look at this space. They're hearing it so much, and they're coming at it from different places. Sometimes it's themselves. Sometimes they're hearing it from, women in their lives. Sometimes they're just like, actually, this is a great open space. And that's what I want to, especially in the book, and this is just in general what I want us to focus on. Investors and generally companies make the most money when you're at the beginning of an
Right,
investment space and not
right.
towards the tail end. So get in now, do the work, make it happen, and we're all going to reap the benefits of that.
I mean, it couldn't, again, extremely well said. I do believe that it can only get better from here. We're getting more educated as women. We also talked about AI today, and then there's just more education. I've always believed that knowledge is power, and I grew up in a world where women were not really encouraged so much to get educated. So I got educated anyway. So anyway, as we close today, do you have any final comments or thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience?
No, I am just so excited to be here with the audience, and feel free to pre-order the book. It is out on June 4th for shipping, and can't wait to have everybody's thoughts on it as well, because I want everything to be a conversation. It's not a definitive guide on anything, because everything changes all the time. I think we also, when we think about women's health, we need to think globally and not just, in the US.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. I think it's a great time for us to be having this conversation. This week is obviously National Women's Health Awareness Week. And I think our conversation, the reason why it's relevant is beyond 1 week. I mean, we can choose a week, we can choose a month. I think May is also National Cancer Research Awareness Month. But the awareness that we're talking about goes beyond weeks and days and months, about a sustained type of engagement and mindset elevation. And with that being said, Marissa, I'd like to thank you for such a thoughtful and insightful conversation. Congratulations again on the upcoming book, Undervalued to Unavoidable, Women's Health as Infrastructure. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on Amplifying Scientific Innovation. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and share with your network as we continue to amplify the many voices that are shaping the future of science, healthcare, and innovation. Until next time, have a great one. Thank you.